Hello, I am Bovarist from the global server, and I think this is one of my first few videos. So, hello world. So today I'm going to talk about the regular arena. I have this team that I use against the current meta that I would like to introduce to everybody. So you can see them on the lobby screen right now. It is made up of these core three units, which is Singelica, Spirit Seline, and Ruele. And then the fourth slot would usually be Seaside Bellona, Eligos, or somebody more, it's like a versatile slot. So this is how the video is going to go. I'm going to showcase how this team goes against the meta, and then I'll show the stats. And while I continue to showcase against some of the less meta teams, I will also discuss some of the drawbacks. All right, let's go. So first off, this is one of the most common defense teams right now. So we will have Boss Arunka at the front, and then the rest of the team would be Harsetti, FCC, and Empyrean Ilinev. So the trick is to use Celine's S3 only after FCC uses her ultimate. The reason for that is because FCC has the ability to dispel all buffs from my team, which is why it is best to kind of revive everyone else and um, use and retain the buffs, right? Okay, so I just wanted to highlight what is the core three units, which is Ruel, Singelica, and Seline. It is a very versatile combo, and the sequence of whoever goes first among these three, or among the entire team actually, it is very interchangeable, which is why this combo goes so well against teams with Farsetti. So as you can see here, Ruel is kind of like a dedicated reviver for Celine, and she's also like a dedicated buffer for her as well. So with Celine, she's able to cleanse, she's able to revive the entire team, and give herself that possession buff, which is so great. And over here we can see that with Singelica in front and with her permanently on the immortality buff, the light units go for her. They just go for her even when she has that immortality buff and she has that crazy 200 ER. And this is why this is such a great team, because the rest of the team are damaged less when Singelica is on. So over here you can see that Bellona is slowly stacking the debuffs, which is great. You can see Boss Arunka with the unbuffable debuff, so after her next turn, the rest of the team can be targeted. And over here, I think I was deciding who to ask to, because by principle, usually I would reserve it for Celine. But since Bellona could use that extra survivability, I went with her instead. So in this case, even though I was targeting Boss Arunka, FCC was, weak enough to be defeated in the same turn. And then this is where I will just soul burn and hope to get lucky with defeating Boss Arunka. Okay, and I'm not sure if you noticed, but at the start, SSB didn't S3 immediately because when Harsetti or when FCC attacks, they are using AoE anyway, so her focus would have been pretty high. So this is what I really like about this team, is that you are not in a rush. You're just not in a rush to go first. You're not in a rush to use your S3. So it's a very slow and steady team. And as you can see right now, we are just left with Empyrean Ilinav, and that should be game for us. And of course, it's important for Singelica to always have that immortality buff on her, because as usual, the light light unit will always attack the dark unit, especially if she is at low health. Okay, and with that, defense down, that should be game. There we go. Okay, moving on. So just to show that this is not a fluke, I will be showing another team, the exact team setup against my current team, just to see how it works. So even though I am going against the same team, but because of the turn amalgamations from Harseti, there's so many changes, but your team, especially with the core three, they allow you to have that flexibility. So over here, as mentioned, SSB already has 4 focus, so there's no need to rush on getting that S3 out, and since Boss Arunka has immunity anyway, so let's wait for her immunity to be cleared before we can S3 and then hopefully stick that unbuffable debuff on her. And again, Singelica is being targeted, and even though she is dead for now, it's okay because again we have Ruel, we have Seline, so these three units, they all have dispel functions to some extent, and of course, Ruel and Seline have that sweet revive function, which is basically what this entire team is based off of. So right now I'm not seeing the need to just go really hard on Arunka right now because she has a barrier, she has the defense up, and we can just wait slowly for Seaside Bellona to drop her debuffs on the team. And once again, as you can see, FCC comes up with her S3, but SSB just clears the skill nullifiers almost immediately. And yeah, I think even though Celine has S3 earlier ahead of FCC, but she was able to cleanse Ruel and she was able to revive Singelica, so I think that is still a pretty good trade-off. And in any case, Ruel would be able to bring Celine back. And even though my team's health is much lower than the opponent team, I think we are still in a pretty good spot. So as long as Ruel has that Spirit's Blessing self-revive mechanic, this team is pretty much able to keep going, just rinse and repeat. There we go. Boss Arunga already has that unbuffable debuff and defense break, so that is just so delicious. Oof, and you can see Empyrean Illinov is one shot, and this should be game. Oof, just that little bit, and there we go. And of course, Angelica was always there to prevent the chances of the teams just self reviving from Holy Sack. So now I am going into the stats, and I wanted to highlight that Seaside Bellona and Singelica are both using my hunt builds for Wyvern. So basically, I didn't do much to bring them up, and I think the only thing I did was for SSB to get slightly tweaked to get that 100% crit chance, but otherwise, this is also the stat line that I use for Wyvern. So I don't have the Rienga's special drink at 30, so I rather have this increased damage from the artifact just to guarantee that little bit of damage for the first round of Wyvern. So yeah, if you have a Rienga's drink at 30, then obviously I think that would be much more useful in Arena. So over here you can see that Celine and Ruel both are not top of the line. They are just functional, I guess, and Ruel here has Guardian Ice Crystals, and even then, I've seen some success with her on Idol's Cheer. So yeah, this is basically my team. So I would say that this is a relatively easy team to assemble since two of your units are already built for hunt. Plus, the core three units, they complement each other so well that it kind of lowers the gear requirements. But of course, I understand. Better, like higher gear score is always better. And if you have higher damage, you might just clear the games much faster than me. Okay, so what I'm showcasing here right now is how I used this team for the past round of meta during the Harseti Mart era. So I've been using this comp since before Boss Arunka was released and even before Celine's buff actually. So the three of them together were already functional, but her buff made it more stable and the free soul burn is always nice. Okay, and over here, I think I was deciding if I should S3, but of course, it would be best to save the S3 until after more S3s because the fear is going to be quite tricky. So what I do is even though I do not have possession, I use soul burn to get that little damage in because I already have buffs on Celine. So her special attack is going to trigger, and then her Dust Devil triggers for that extra damage, which clears her Seti, and Eligos just procs as well into Yang Senya. And with that, that makes two units down, which is great. And over here, you have see Politis just triggering. However, she is on spatial temporal fan, much to the opponent's bad luck, I guess, because with that, both Mart and Politis are on stealth, which then allows me to target Politis. And in this case, since she is understandably usually more squishy than Mart, it just makes sense to go after her first. And yeah, how this team works is basically just to kind of like go on your last breath and just keep dying and just keep reviving. So you just rinse and repeat. And Celine's S3 would also grant Singelica the immortality. So you're not 100% relying on the prophetic candlestick, which may not proc all the time. So as you can see her here, Singelica has died once again. I think what I could have done here was to revive Singelica with Ruel's S3, but I usually like to play it safe, so Ruel's S2 and S3, I usually try to conserve it for Celine. But like I mentioned, this team is so versatile, it's so flexible. So in one of the earlier rounds, I use Ruel's S2 on Seaside Bellona, so there's always some room for playing around and being flexible. So over here with this, I believe it is game, and that's it. So this is how the team goes up against the past meta teams. As I am still in the Champion 5 tier, I think there has been a little bit more playing space for different team comms. I believe as people go up the tiers and ranks, the opponent teams kind of become a little bit more homogeneous. Like, you would probably go up against the B Arunka team or maybe the ML, the evasion teams, I think. But yeah, right now this is a team that I went up against, and it also has the Celine and the Ruel combo. However, without Singelica and with BBK hiding behind Boss Arunka. Um, so let's see how this goes. Instead of Seaside Bologna or Eligos, I went with Mart. So just to reiterate, this slot is very flexible. You can put whoever you want. to counteract whichever team you're up against. So over here, I chose Mart because he can shut down counterattacks from either Celine, from either Boss Arunca, and possibly against BBK as well. And in the ideal situation, his fear would also land on BBK if she didn't have the immunity. But that is still not too much of a problem right now. I would say both our teams are kind of even at this point. Um, but there's still a good chance that we could win this. Uh, it was a shame that Celine woke up from the fear. But I think we should be okay for now. Oh yes, and when Singelica has that occasional defense break from her S1, sometimes it's just what you need to get that Boss Arunca out of the way. There we go. And on the occasional times when Dust Devil does proc, it's always nice to have that little damage come in. So yes, it makes sense to target Ruel here because in the off chance that she does wake up from fear, she might S2 or S3 any of the existing units, even though revive is prevented, but she might heal someone to full health or even herself, and that is just going to prolong the game. So yeah, it makes sense to get rid of her while Singelica is still on the board. And the rest of these two units should be pretty easy pickings because of Mort's anti-counter attack. And right now we will just be playing a waiting game for BBK to proc her immortality and then wait for it to be dispelled. And then that would be it. So among these choices, among these opponent teams that I select, you would see that there are no evasion teams, which leads me to one of the drawbacks of this setup is that I think in theory this team doesn't look promising in a matchup against evasion units. So I haven't tested much against them. And yeah, definitely to avoid those teams with anti-revive, such as ML Huayong, and in less common cases, the Berseria, and that is game for this team. And as you can see among the choices here, obviously I would avoid the choices with ML Peira or Remnant Violet. Okay, so and I am aware that ML Aria is going to be released right around the corner, and her soul burn restriction is definitely going to hurt Celine's utility. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'll definitely try this team again. And one of the possible drawbacks is it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen, is Ruel may die on Harseti's turn, and in that case, she revives, but she doesn't get that CR boost. So when she gets hit by follow-up opponent teams, she doesn't get to revive Celine in time, and then the whole team just gets wiped out from there. And it's pretty much game, yeah. So in this case, I decided to go with Genoa because the team doesn't really have any defense penetration resistance. So yeah, Genoa is always a good choice against BBK as well because he doesn't die immediately with his immortality and he gets to self cleanse. But if in the off chance where he needs a little help, obviously the core 3 will be there to dispel and or revive. So just to wrap up, I would say that this team is a little bit slow. It's a little bit slow, and you have to play this manually because you have to reserve Ruel's skills for Celine. So if you were to play this on auto, they might just revive, let's say, Singelica instead, and that wastes your S3 and You basically just lose momentum from there. However, I would say this win rate is quite stable. Just last week, I hit I think 80% win rate, and I got as high as Emperor 5 at one point. But things get a little competitive up there, so I didn't really spend any sky stones to maintain my spot. So yeah, what happens here then is slowly the teams get picked off one by one. Uh, so yeah, you can try it out. Let me know what you think. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. And in the meantime, just to wrap up, let's finish this game where we are sort of just waiting for BBK to finish her immortality, but it's not too much of an issue now because it's just her and Politis, and everybody has their immortality buff anyway. Uh, okay, and yeah, Genua should be able to handle it. Oh, BBK evades that like a champ, and she S3s. I wouldn't be too worried though with Seline having that possession. And there she goes, counter attacking into her. And we can finish up with Politis. There we go. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this showcase, and let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you. Bye.